Stop! He didn't do anything! The metal pipe was already swinging toward the old biker's head. Jake Carter, 16 years old, homeless, starving, threw himself between them. The sound of metal hitting flesh echoed through the rain-soaked alley. But it wasn't the biker who took the blow. It was Jake. What this homeless kid did next made an entire town cry. The rain fell hard that night, washing the dirt off broken sidewalks in the small town of Millbrook. To most people passing by, Jake was just another invisible street kid, one of those faces you avoid making eye contact with, one of those problems you hope someone else will solve. But that night, Jake Carter was about to become something more. Jake had been living on the streets for over a year. Mother dead from cancer at 14. Father vanished into addiction 6 months later. He'd learned to survive by scavenging, doing odd jobs, sleeping wherever night found him. But beneath the dirt and despair, something remained unbreakable. His mother's last words: "Be kind, Jake, even when the world isn't kind to you." On that stormy evening, as Jake searched for scraps behind Tony's diner, he heard shouting. A large man in a leather vest stood surrounded by 3 drunk punks. Gray beard, tattooed arms, Iron Rider's MC stitched on his back. He was trying to walk away, hands up. "I don't want trouble, boys." But they kept pushing, mocking. One grabbed a metal pipe, raised it high, aimed at the biker's head. Jake ran. "Stop!" Jake screamed, throwing himself between the biker and the pipe. "He didn't do anything!" The pipe came down. Pain exploded through Jake's shoulder and ribs. He crumpled to the wet pavement, gasping. The punks turned on him immediately, cursing, kicking. The biker tried to pull them off, but there were too many. Jake curled into a ball, arms over his head, as fists and boots rained down. In the distance, police sirens began to wail. The punks scattered like rats, disappearing into the night. The biker, his name was Marcus Ironside Brennan, though Jake didn't know that yet, knelt beside the boy. He lifted Jake gently, cradling his head, as blood trickled from his nose and a cut above his eye. "Why did you do that, kid?" Marcus whispered, his voice trembling. "You don't even know me." Jake barely managed to mumble through split lips. "Nobody deserves to be hurt like that." Then everything went black. Jake woke in a hospital bed, white walls, beeping machines, body aching everywhere. The biker sat beside him, still in his leather vest, eyes red like he'd been there all night. "You're awake. Name's Marcus. Marcus Brennan. You saved my life, kid." Jake tried to sit up, winced. "Are you okay?" Marcus laughed, rough, surprised. "I'm okay? You're in the hospital bed. You took a beating for a stranger. You needed help." Over 3 days, Marcus stayed, learned Jake's story, the streets, the hunger, the invisibility. His heart, hardened by years of rough living, began to melt. When Jake was discharged, Marcus didn't let him return to the streets. He brought Jake to his garage on the edge of town, motorcycles, tools, and quiet peace. For the first time in a year, Jake had a bed, warm meals, someone who cared. He helped in the garage, learning to fix bikes. Marcus taught him with gruff affection how to hold a wrench, change oil. "You got good hands, kid. Steady." But news travels fast. A reporter showed up asking about the brave street kid who saved an Iron Rider. The story exploded. Local news, social media, photos of the thin boy beside the tattooed biker. Suddenly, the world cared about Jake Carter. Not everyone was happy. Some said it was for attention. Others sneered that street kids don't deserve sympathy. Marcus enrolled Jake in school. The whispers followed him. "Why do they hate me?" Jake asked one night. Marcus looked at him. "Let them talk, kid. What matters is who you choose to be when no one's watching. You already proved that." A few weeks later, something unexpected happened. One evening, Marcus got a phone call. He didn't say much, just listened and nodded. When he hung up, he turned to Jake. "Get ready," Marcus said. "We're going for a ride." They drove to a field outside town. As they turned the corner, Jake's eyes widened. 50 motorcycles lined the horizon, engines rumbling. Men and women in leather vests, arms crossed. Every jacket. Iron Riders MC. Marcus squeezed Jake's shoulder. "Word got around about what you did. They all came." Jake stepped out. Silence fell. Then, one by one, bikers removed their helmets and nodded. The club president, Thomas Bear Sullivan, massive and imposing, stepped forward. "This kid put himself in harm's way for one of our brothers. That kind of heart deserves to be honored." Every biker started their engine, revving in unison until the ground trembled. They formed a circle around Jake and Marcus. Bear took off his vest, sacred in their world, and placed it over Jake's shoulders. "From now on, you're family. Honorary Iron Rider. We protect our own. You're one of ours." Tears streamed down Jake's face. For a boy who'd been invisible, to be seen and valued by people who understood loyalty, it was overwhelming. The crowd watching fell silent. Some wept openly. 50 engines roared together like a unified heartbeat. News crews arrived. The story spread nationwide. Donations poured in for Jake's education and homeless shelters. Schools organized food drives. Churches opened doors. The mayor announced initiatives for homeless youth. People didn't just talk about kindness, they lived it. All because a 16-year-old refused to walk away. Months passed. Jake grew stronger. He studied hard, worked at Marcus's garage, volunteered at the homeless shelter helping other kids. "I know what it's like to be invisible," he'd tell them. "But you're not. I see you." At 18, Jake spoke at a community event. You don't need much to change a life, just the courage to care. One person. One moment. One choice to be kind. The crowd rose to their feet. That night, Jake and Marcus rode side by side down the highway, wind in their faces, stars overhead. Jake felt peace. Belonging. Home. Years later, Jake graduated college with a degree in social work. He opened Second Chances, a shelter and job training program for homeless youth, funded by donations and the Iron Riders' annual charity rides. Marcus stood in the back during graduation, arms crossed, faint smile behind his gray beard. He'd found redemption too. It was never too late to be someone's family. The world could be cruel, but it could also be beautiful if you looked close enough. If you chose kindness, even when it was hard. Especially then. If this story reminded you that one act of courage can change everything, hit that like button and subscribe to The Last Riders for more true stories of bravery, brotherhood, and hope. Tell us in the comments, what's one act of kindness you've witnessed that restored your faith in humanity? Your words might inspire someone today. As the engines of 50 motorcycles thundered through that small town one last time, people came out of their homes to watch. Old men removed their hats. Mothers held their children close. And somewhere among that sea of headlights and leather, a once homeless boy smiled through tears of gratitude. Because he finally belonged. Because he had proved that even the smallest act of courage can light up the darkest corners of the world. And in that small town, forever changed by one boy's heart, the sound of roaring engines became the sound of hope itself.